Good morning. Have you ever made plans for yourself? Have you ever had even the best laid plans? Today you're going to learn about 3 trees that had plans, and you're going to learn about God's even better plan. This week's been all about growing with God, and today I just would like to introduce what we're going to learn and enjoy by suggesting this. It's very often that as followers of Jesus, you and I want to do something for God. And that's a beautiful and holy thing. Sometimes we want to do really big things for God. And that's a beautiful and holy thing. There was an Archbishop of Canterbury back in the 1960s. You know what I mean by Archbishop of Canterbury. They're the ones that wear the big kind of crazy hats. And he said, the sharpest test of our humility is not what we want to do for God, but allowing God to do something in and with and for us. What I mean by that, as you and I have big plans as we've been growing with God, let us remember the root of those plans. It's what God has done for us. And in these 3 trees today, you're going to learn more and more about, in fact, what God did for us. The very impossible God did for you and me, because God is love. So as we think about the 3 trees, and as we think about plans, what we're going to do for God this year, let's never forget what God has done for us. There's one particular tree we're going to look at today, the tree of life, as it's often called, because in our Lord's crucifixion, yes, you remember that, when Jesus died for you and for me, because he loves us and he forgives us and he wants to be in a relationship with each of us. And we'll learn today that whatever our plans are to grow with God, it's rooted in his victory on the cross.
My name is Dora, and I live here in Sarasota, and my family grew a lot of oranges not right in Sarasota, but in the Sarasota area, just on the other side of 75. And we had thousands of acres of nothing but oranges. Well, oranges take a really long time to grow. Not like tomatoes or strawberries or anything like that. A little orange seed, if you plant it, could take 15 years to produce an orange. So when people are going to grow oranges, they don't plant a little seed. They buy a little tree. And when you plant that little tree, then you're looking maybe around 5 years from then. If you're lucky, you'll get an orange. The orange needs a ton of sun. It needs a lot of water. And Florida is a great place to grow the oranges because it has a lot of sun and it rains a lot in the summertime. The sun in the summer makes the oranges sweet. So the sun is really, really important. The oranges are kind of funny because the orange tree does not like to have its feet wet. So it grows roots that stay at the surface of the land. They don't grow really deep roots because there's water in Florida way deep. So they don't like that. They stay up here. And they like the sandy soil of Florida because it lets the water come right through and doesn't stay in a big pool and keep their roots wet. So in Florida, we have everything that the orange tree needs. It needs lots of sun, lots of water, and water that percolates through the sand and doesn't stay on the roots. So we plant the little trees just like you would a human being. You have to feed it, so we give it fertilizer, and you have to give them sometimes some medicines. And just like here in Florida, the mosquitoes bite you, well, there's a lot of nasty little bugs that like to mess up with the orange trees. So we also give it bug spray. So getting the fruit to your house, it's a pretty long process. The fruit needs to be ripe and ready to eat before you pick it off the tree. So it's not like a banana or an avocado or something like that you could buy at the grocery store, a little green, and you let it sit on your counter and a few days later you can eat it. No, the oranges have to be ripe when they get picked. So we go around testing the oranges all around the time when we know they're about to be ready. And when they're ready, there's hundreds of pickers that will come to your orange grove. And they get in really tall ladders that they lay against the tree, and they have a big old sack that they put off one shoulder, and they put big old goggles in their eyes, because the orange trees have thorns and they have gloves, and they get up on those trees and they start picking the oranges. Then they get put in from those big sacks. They put them in what we call big tubs, and then the tubs get picked up and thrown into a really big semi-tractor, and all our oranges go to Tropicana up in Bradenton. Then Tropicana does its magic, and they wash the oranges about 5 to 6, 7 times, and then they put it in big machines that squeezes all the orange juice out, and then they bottle it, and then they go to the supermarket, and then it goes to your house. That's if you want orange juice. If you want just to eat an orange, you won't get it from us, because we only grow oranges for juice. But there's other people that grow oranges for you to eat, and then the process is a little bit different, but not that different. I never thought I was going to grow anything, but my dad loved to grow anything, and he loved being outside, and he loved being in a farm, and he loved to be with cows, and he loved to be with horses, and then he decided that it would be fun to be with orange trees. So we started with a few acres of orange trees, and then just kept on planting trees, and it was a really neat thing to do. We all learned a lot. We learned something new. We learned everything there is to know about the Florida weather, and all the bad things that the weather can do to the orange trees, and all the good things that the weather can do to the orange trees. God is all over the orange business, the orange growing, everything. When you think about a teeny tiny seed, and then it turns into a little tree, and then that tree grows, and then you get this incredibly beautiful little white flower that looks like snow. Well, so when the orange trees are in bloom, they almost look like there's been a snowstorm, because they get covered in white, and it smells beautiful. Human beings can't make anything that smells so beautiful. If you're gonna make perfume, you're gonna use things that God already provided you to make perfume. So, and then from a teeny little middle of that orange blossom, then you get this beautiful fruit that you can do so many things with. So God I think is all over that work. when bad things happen, he's always there for us, and he'll give us something to work with. Like when hurricanes come and they mess up the orange trees, the trees are way more resilient than you think they would be. Give them another season and they'll start producing again. I think God has protected all of us by giving us different things to eat and different things to grow, and he's way smarter than we are. I've had my grandchildren at home a lot this summer. So from 10 months to 7 years, they really have not had any friends around, but they have learned to play with each other. They have learned to play with us. We have played a lot more with them than if it was a different summer. So I think the good thing that have happened because of COVID is that we get to spend more time with each other and just play simple games and laugh and swim and go for walks and go for bike rides and enjoy all that time before we all have to go back to school and don't have time to do all those fun things.